a lot of beat scholars from all relevant eras of the world are probably equally excited because today we're going to dip into pretty uncharted territory. We're talking about LA in the 80s. Well, later on there was a group called N.W.A, which most of you will know, but there was also a thing that they called techno or electro earlier on, which was had not too much to do with all the stuff you'd see in Berlin and London these days and all the crazy haircuts, but it was real street music. And therefore, the man who introduces himself on the phone as the Brother Arab, welcome.
Thank you.
So there's a rumor now and then about a club called Uncle Jam's Army, but if you try to Google for it, the first relevant information to it is, I think, hit number 85 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's only about a reunion party. And I mean, in this day and age, you would think that every relevant club scene would be pinned down by now, but why has it been written out of history?
I don't know if it's written out of history. I think it's just more so that a lot of the things that happened back in the 80s were like way before the internet. And all of the people who had anything to do with that era never took the time to document it. I mean, there's not much video on it except for maybe the Breaking and Entering movie that shows some, you know, Ice-T, Chris the Glove, a little bit of Egyptian Lover and stuff like that. But a lot of what was going on the West Coast in Los Angeles in the 80s was never documented. And even to this day, it seems that a lot of people have forgotten where the street scene was at first before, you know, I take kind of the blame for it, introducing gangster rap and kind of killing out the West Coast electro-funk movement, you know.
Now, for all of us that probably have not been spending too much time in LA, when you're talking about the streets, there's a hell lot of streets in LA to start with.
Oh yeah.
I mean, car culture is a totally different relevance than anywhere else in the Western world, I guess.
Yeah.
So what kind of music would you be listening to in your car, and how would that differ from the music you'd be listening to in a club scenario?
Today or back in the day?
Back then.
Well, back in the day, the music scene was kind of crazy because let you guys know I'm old. I've been doing this for 25 years. I made my first record when I was 15 or 16 back in I think it was 81 or 82. And that was back when we were just kind of experimenting with music. I mean, we were all DJs. I had my own club in LA when I was 16. And after school, I would go practice, and I had some little cheap Technics turntable. Matter of fact, I had the turntables that had the straight arm back then. It was just like a Technics, I forget the number. It just had a straight arm. There were no scratch pads back then. I don't think they even existed. You just cut paper and put it on there and, you know, go about your business. And we were listening.
Belt-driven or direct drive? Or?
They were belt-driven, actually. So you had to be a good DJ if you were trying to scratch on them back then. But I think we were all playing and listening to, at the time, old school funk, like Cameo and the Barcades and Parliament Funkadelic, and that's what we were playing. And then on the other side, there was a big punk rock movement at the time. It was like Depeche Mode and Oingo Boingo and, you know, and Kraftwerk. That was our influence, our big, you know, kind of switch over to electro. But, you know, Cyndi Lauper, it was just this weird, we're playing funk and we're playing this kind of stuff in the same club.
That same kind of club, I mean, what did it look like, a club back then?
Woo! We had, I think, the first club we had, it was called The Cave. It was actually in the back of a old pet store. It was a pet feed store, and I was about, you know, 16, and I needed a job. So I went to go work at the pet store. And this wasn't like your little pet store with like little animals and stuff. This guy sold like 100-pound bags of pigeon feed and chicken feed and all this kind of stuff.
Some smelly club.
Oh, it was smelly. And my job, carry 100-pound bags from here to here, you know, clean the pigeon cages, all that kind of stuff. But this guy owned a community center in the neighborhood, and on the weekends he would do stuff like weddings, you know, private parties. And I was like, well, when there's nothing going on, can we throw parties in here? He was like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, all the kids in the neighborhood, they want to have something to do. I'm sure if we, you know, put together some parties, we could do something really cool. So we tried it out once and packed it out. Place held about 250 people, and we packed it. So we started doing it every weekend, Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday. And it got pretty big, but what happened was it got too big, and then we had to start turning people away, and then we would get the fights because people couldn't get in, or stuff like that. And me and Egyptian Lover at the time were playing a lot of parks and parties and little clubs around town, and we decided that we wanted to do something a little bigger. So we all got together, and there were some other guys, and we formed Uncle Jamm's Army. And we started.
Which was named after?
It was from Parliament Funkadelic. It was, Uncle Jamm was one of the songs in an old Parliament album or something like that. So we just kind of used it as kind of our moniker. And they had all these little DJ crews back in the day. So there was like Uncle Jamm's Army, which was me, Egyptian Lover, and a couple other people. Then you had the Wreckin Cru, which was Dr. Dre. Now people forget Dr. Dre is like the big gangster rapper, hip hop producer, but back then he was electro head, all electro-funk, dance music, 130 beats per minute.
Was he already the world-class Wreckin Cru?
It was just called the Wreckin Cru at the time, and they used to do dances on this side of town. We do dances on this side of town, and we put our posters up for our dance. They drive by, take our posters down. That's how I met Dre, because one day we were driving down the street, he's over there like pulling the poster off, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, so we became friends and started doing stuff together. But that was a scene back then. It was like battling between DJ crews. We do a club here, they do a club here, and try to see who get the most. And believe it or not, back in the 80s, the early 80s, the club scene was huge because nobody had anything to do. So we would rent out like the LA Convention Center, which held like 5,000 people. Or we rent out the LA Sports Arena, where the Los Angeles Clippers basketball team used to play at, and that held 10,000 people. And we would sell out these things with DJs only, like no performances, nobody singing, rapping, nothing. It was just DJs and people dancing.
What would they be playing?
Like I said, back then when we first started, it was, I think one of the first records on vinyl I had was something like Pull Up to the Bumper. And
the long edit, or
yeah, we had all 12 inches. We used a lot of 12 inches, like Atomic Dog, and like I said, Flashlight. A lot of Parliament Funkadelic, a lot of Depeche Mode. Just this little weird fusion of music. And at that time, that was kind of the beginning of the whole kind of rap scene too. So Sugar Hill Gang. Planet Rock had just come out, I think, once we started doing the bigger clubs. So, that's how we kind of started thinking, like, we're playing all this music and we love the music scene so much, we want to get more into it. So one show, we were on stage, and this is the funniest thing, and nobody believes me to this day. We were at Toys R Us, and I think it was Mattel, had come out with this little bitty thing called Sensonic drums. It had like 4 little drum pads on it, and it was a toy for kids. And it had 4 pads, and it had a bunch of little buttons, and you press and go boo, 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 boo. It had toms or whatever. So this is cool. We took it to the dance. We were playing Planet Rock, and then we go, okay, Uncle Jamm's Army live in concert. We started beating on the little Sensonic drums, and people kept dancing. We're like, whoa, they don't care. They just want to party. So then we bought an 808, and that's when it got sick. We just started, doing beats and stuff, and soon after that we made a record, because it was like we had this beat going and we started playing kind of like a Planet Rock type beat, and we didn't rap back then. We really hadn't gotten into rap yet, so we would just kind of go yes, 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 and then people go no, 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 no.
Almost like a go-go thing.
Yeah, and we made a record out of it. I actually got the record.
It there?
Yeah, I got the record. Yeah, and we sold like probably like a couple 100,000 of those things. Yeah, let me see if I have it in here. If not, I have the vinyl itself. But it's amazing that that was the beginning of what we were doing at the time. And I just got to look back and think that if it wasn't for, okay, I'll play the vinyl. I know I've got it. If I didn't bring it, I'll kill myself. Uh-oh, I didn't bring it. Darn it. Well, let me see something here. I should have it, though. Doom, 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 doom. Oh my goodness, I don't think I even brought it. Let me check one more thing here. Okay, let's try this. It's gotta be here. I'm usually more prepared than this. Maybe it's because I'm spelling it wrong. How about that?
What was it coming out under? I mean,
back then we had a record label called Freak Beat, the Freak Beat label that we just kind of made it up, and okay, here we go. I don't have the Yes Yes song, but I have the first single that we did back then, and I'll play that for you. Let's see here. And this was pretty much like our first kind of introduction into the whole electro-funk movement at the time.
Hello, baby.
what's up with the balance? I mean, it sounds like the engineer was pretty not very sober. I mean, it's very gritty on the highs, and very bass heavy.
Yeah, well, like I said, that was our first ever record at the time. And I think it was more not the actual mixing of the record, but the pressing of the record. Because the first record we ever pressed, we went to some real cheap pressing house. And the test presses came out really, really bad. But we were just so happy to get a record out that, you know, it was a good thing. So that was kind of just, you know, our introduction into it. And from there, we just went on to make better records, you know. The Egyptian Lover, Egypt is one of the biggest 12 inches of all time.
You must have that somewhere there.
Oh yeah, I can play that for you. But, you know, like even today, I look around and the Egypt single is still one of the top played, you know, or top bought 12 inches in a re-release or whatever. But yeah, it's crazy. Pretty much our style back then. Our style was more, I won't say stole, but we kind of, you know, were influenced a lot by Kraftwerk back then, the Trans-Europe Express, Numbers, those kind of songs. And we took a little bit from Planet Rock because they took from them. And we kind of made this thing, but then we put a little funk into it too. And, you know, rapping and, you know, just kind of made this fusion. Then we stole from like the Arabic kind of music to make it all, you know, kind of meld together. And that was just like a new sound on the West Coast to go along with the breakdancing and stuff.
What's up with all the imaginary in the naming? I mean, it's a bit like Afrocentricity meets California and porn industry kind of way you got.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean,
who's shouting? So, I mean, the Egyptian Lover has sparked a lot of vivid imaginations around the world. I mean, what can you tell us about him?
I just talked to him yesterday, as a matter of fact. Cool guy. I think the influence of the whole like Egyptian Lover, Arabian Prince thing, I mean, back in the 80s, at I guess the tail end of the 70s, going into the 80s, that was the whole Prince and the Revolution era.
Are we talking the shorts against the blouses now? And the
yeah, sure. It was like, I mean, there are pictures out there which I will never show. I mean, because we used to wear like the leather boots and the tight parachute pants and, you know, lace gloves and stuff when we used to DJ, because at that time frame, that was it. It was either you were down with Prince and Morris Day or that whole scene, or you were into the punk rock scene, or, you know, you were a rude boy and you wore the whole like black and white checkered, you know, stuff and the mod hats and all that kind of stuff. So we were into women, you know, we thought we were just hot, you know, like, yeah, you know, if we do this kind of thing, all of our songs, and we talk about girls and women, you know, it'll be cool. Because we knew that if the women came to the clubs, then everybody else would come. And we had a little thing we would do with our clubs. We would line up all the guys. We'd let all the girls in the club and leave all the guys outside for about 30 minutes. And, you know, until it was time, and then we let them all in because they wanted to get inside because all the girls were in there. So it was kind of...
It's a bit of testosterone.
Yeah, but it worked. It kept us packed every week because girls in free before 10 o'clock. All the girls get there at 9 o'clock, we let them all in. After 10 o'clock, here's about 200-300, you know, guys standing outside waiting to get in, or a couple thousand, you know.
How long did these nights go? Was it an all-night affair? Or?
No, that's the only bad thing about LA, even till this day, is Los Angeles shuts down at 2 o'clock. Yeah, 2 o'clock, clubs are closing, no more alcohol, get out, go home. Now we got the underground after hour clubs, which are not legal, but for the most part, you know, we shut down at 2. But I mean, from 10 to 2, it was non-stop partying. I mean, people would never stop dancing. And the BPMs were always at about 125 up back then, you know.
So where did the whole thing, I mean, before the BPMs drop, I mean, when you're talking funk and stuff, and maybe in Prince, you get a little bit of a progression there, you got the Kraftwerk thing, it picks up a little pace.
Right.
How does it get beyond the 120, 130 kind of barrier?
How does it go up?
Yeah, I mean, when did that happen?
I think, you mean going up to 130 or go faster? I think, like I said, we were doing this whole thing, and we found out that the faster the beats, the more people would party. And this is a little selfish on our part. The faster the beats, the more they party, the more they sweat, the more they want to drink, the more money we make. And that was honest truth. It was like, okay, people are drinking, they're sweating. You play slow music, they don't sweat, they don't drink. You play fast music, they sweat, they drink, you know, you make more money. And we actually loved that feeling, because it was just this high energy, pounding beats, you know, and beats and snares, and you know, the vocoder and that whole thing, you know, it was kind of the feeling that we liked at the time.
What did you guys know about other regional scenes which had similar phenomenons like Detroit or Miami or Ohio?
Well, like, you know, one of my best friends, Juan Atkins, which a lot of you guys already know, you know, the whole Cybertron thing and Technicolor and Clear, and, you know, like Missy just sampled Clear for one of her new songs. That was kind of like the same movement going on in Detroit, you know. The same thing was going on in Miami with the Miami bass stuff as well. I mean, the music was pretty similar from LA to Detroit to Miami, except that I think on the West Coast, we use more structured rap. I'm like, if you listen to all of the West Coast stuff, it was rap. You know, you had 16 bars of rap, verse, chorus, 16 bars of rap. It was more song oriented. A lot of the stuff out of Detroit was more instrumental, or had a little bit of, you know, chanting or this and that in it. On the Miami bass side, they were just dirty talking through the whole thing or whatever. It was more booty music, more for the strippers and stuff like that. But I think it all kind of fit together, because when we played stuff in the club, we played it all. I mean, you know, one thing about the West Coast is that we play everybody's music. I mean, New York, we don't care. You know, Europe, anything that came through the West Coast, we embraced it and played it. And we incorporated it into what we were doing, you know, somewhere or another in a mix or something like that.
You just mentioned strippers, and one thing that people till this day find kind of hard to grasp is what big of a role strippers play in popular culture and music in the States. Like, I mean, from then, probably even earlier, up till Lil Jon or whatever. Can you probably elaborate a little bit on that? Like, you know, how that matches the Puritan ethic of a lot of the rest of the country?
Well, you know, like, sex sells, and, you know, a lot of people like sex, and sex and music kind of go hand in hand, because, you know, you go to strip clubs, what do? They dance to music. Or, you know, when you see videos, all the new videos, or even videos back in the day, you know, was always the sexiness in the music, and that's what, you know, draw people to the music, is the sexiness of it. So that's something that we tried to make sure we put in all of our songs. I can think, like, the first maybe 5 or 6 songs that I made coming out, every song was talking about a girl. You know, I mean, and the funny thing is, like, you're thinking, well, this is going to be like a hardcore street cut, but we're talking about girls. And even if you know, fast forward all the way to right now in 2005, and you look at supposedly the hardest gangster rapper out there, 50 Cent, 90% of his songs are talking about girls. It's hardcore beats, but he's talking about girls, you know, because he still knows in his head that this is what sells, you know.
So, you were talking about the Wreckin Cru there earlier. How did the Wreckin Cru become the world-class Wreckin Cru?
Right. Well, this is when, you know, like me and Dre and DJ Yella, you know, we were all getting together and we were talking about, you know, how do we make more money? Okay, we got an 808 now.
How did you find out about the 808 in the first place?
I think the first time I saw an 808, we went to a music store to buy some needles or something like that, and somebody was playing it. And I hadn't known at the time where that boom sound had come from. You know, I was like, how did they get that boom? And I finally found out what drum machine it was. So we bought one and started kind of messing with it. And then we found out, I'm gonna tell you guys a little secret for those who don't know. Because, I mean, you probably either know or you don't need to do it anymore anyway because you can get it in a sample. The click sound, the pulse sound that most people use, that Kraftwerk click, is from the 808, you know, or from some old analog synth. But in the 808, we figured out that if we take the pulse out that you use for sync, to sync up other devices, and ran that into a mixer, you get this clicking sound. And if you accent it, you get this kind of, you know, rhythmic kind of electro click thing. And that's what we would use to do, you know, all of our clicks and all of our songs. And nobody could figure it out. People were taking, you know, like hi-hats and trying to EQ them. They would take other kind of little click sounds and make it. But unless you use that 808 click, it never sounds the same.
Did you keep the box the same as it ever was, or did you open it and modify it? And
well, my 808 was kind of temperamental, and on some of my songs, I don't know if you can hear it, but my 808 had a phantom clap. Every now and then it would clap on its own, like it'd be clap, 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 clap. It was like this little echo. I think mine was broken, but it was cool. They always clapped on beat, so you know I kept it. I think the only thing I ever did with mine is I MIDI'd it. You know, eventually got it MIDI'd, and I still own it.
But, I mean, with MIDIing it, didn't you lose any of the sequencing? And
the feel of it? I mean, yeah, we did, but then, you know, we could actually run it into a sequencer at the time, so, you know, it was kind of cool. But, like you said, you lose that live feel, because I listened to some old stuff, and you could tell where, you know, some of the keyboards are played a little sloppy here and there, but that was part of the sound and part of the feel. Because I think, like, for me, the biggest record I ever did, well, I won't say the biggest, but I spent $400 on this record by a girl group called JJ Fad, Supersonic.
which
Yeah.
we should probably listen to, people.
Yeah, I'll play the song, because this is I think we sold like 4 or 5 million records on this thing, and I spent $400 in the studio to create this.
It's a pretty good turnover.
And it was all 808 and I think a Juno 60. That was it. 808 and Juno 60, and we made one of the biggest. Matter of fact, it was actually the first 12-inch to go gold on Ruthless Records, even before the N.W.A. or Eazy stuff at the time. And I'll play that for you a little bit. Yeah.
We're JJ Fat and we're here to rock.
Yeah, so that was, like I said, something that, there's a little small story behind that as well. Me and Dre used to date 2 of the girls in JJ Fad, and this was
Same,
before,
or
huh?
not the same, 2 different ones.
No, I mean, no, we didn't, nothing, no. And at the time, Dre had an old beat up Mazda RX-7 with no back window. And we lived in LA. These girls lived in a city called Rialto, which happened to be about an hour away. And being as young and naive and broke as we were, and you know, when you don't have any money, you really don't get many women. So we figured whatever girls
so?
yeah. And we figured, hey, if you got girlfriends, you'll drive a long way to see them. So we used to get on the freeway and drive out to these girls' house with no back window in the freezing cold to go see them. And at that time, we were still, you know, doing the electro kind of funk thing. And they would always tell us, we can rap, we want to do songs, we want to do songs. We were like, no, we don't think so. So they tried to rap for us, and it was pretty bad. And they started doing this jump rope thing, this kind of, I have to play the end of the song so they can hear it. This little thing that little girls do when they jump rope. I'm like, that's cool. So I went in the studio one day when I was doing something else, and I had them come in, and I made this beat and just had a rap on it and do that at the end. And they thought they were big time rappers, so they wanted to do another rap dissing Roxanne, the real Roxanne, and Roxanne Shante, which are 2 really good New York rappers. So they wanted to do this song called Another Hoe Bites the Dust. Fine, whatever. We did the Another Hoe Bites the Dust song, and it was pretty bad because they can't rap, and they wanted to make it the A-side. So I'm like, okay, fine. Another Hoe Bites the Dust is the A-side. Let me put this Supersonic song on the B-side. Just like I thought, as soon as the DJs got the song, they flipped it over and started playing Supersonic. They didn't even care about the other thing. So we had to go back and repress the song by itself without the other one on it, and that's when it kind of blew up and became a big hit.
Is this, when you say we, is this already including Jerry Heller, or is this?
No, well, what happened with that was I made the song by myself. You know, I just put the money and made the song. And I put it out on a record company label called Dream Team Records. That's some other stuff I'll play in a minute. Some other friends of mine who were back in Electro Day. And they had just had a big hit called Rockberry. So they were hot, and I said, well, let me just throw this out on your label, you know, so it'll go. My own buddy tried to rip me off. He wouldn't pay me. He started selling, he didn't want to pay me, so I took it back, and when we started Ruthless Records, we re-released it on Ruthless Records, and you know, the rest was history on that. Let me play the end of the song so you can hear, yeah, so that part of the song right there, everybody heard that and went nuts. And all over the radio, that's all you heard for about a year was that song, just because of the end of that song.
Did you ever do an edit which focused more on that?
We did one called the Eeny Meeny Beats, which I don't believe I have here. Let me see if I have it. Let's see. No, I don't have the Eeny Meeny Beats, but it kind of had like a little bit more of it in it. But that never really did hit the radio much because by that time the song was already dead, you know, so. But yeah, that's another like niche in the history of the whole, you know, electro thing. There was a lot of songs that come out on the West Coast. Like a lot of my songs were, you know, like I said, my stuff and Egyptian Lover stuff. I'll play one of my songs that was like highly sought after. Matter of fact, if you find one on eBay, call me. I need it because I don't even have the vinyl. But matter of fact, it's going for like $150 right now, if you have it. And there was a song I did called Take You Home Girl, and do I have it? Yeah, here it is.
The whole thing I wonder about, I mean, this might just be a stupid European wondering about it all, but you're always going on about you got no money, you ain't getting no girl, you putting out records which go like, yeah, take me home girl and stuff. I mean, it's not exactly a subtle approach, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, and like I said, you know.
Does it ever work?
Yeah, it worked. Oh yeah, it worked. I mean, we went on like worldwide tours after that. I mean, you know, we used to go on stage when we were DJs, and that's one thing I tell anybody here who's a DJ, and not to put anybody down, but when I go to see DJs in the club, especially now, I find out that a lot of DJs are so into their mixes or so into their set that they forget about the people that they're playing for. They forget about the audience. They forget about what's going on out there. Like, they've practiced their set, and they stick to it. Like if the crowd starts to not like what's going on, they just continue on. We try to do anything in our power to keep people partying all night because we knew people came there to have a good time and we want to make them have a good time. We were always on the mic, we were always playing instrumentals of songs and changing the words. I mean, we make up our own song to a song, and people would actually come and ask us, well, are you going to do that other version of whatever song? You know, like, we like it when you guys sing on top of it as opposed to the regular record because it was just fun. It was just something different, you know. People got tired of hearing just the same thing, and we tried to make the club scene really, really fun. And as far as the girl stuff went, you know, we, you know, like I said, we thought of ourselves, whether we were or not, as these suave, cool, debonair kind of DJs, and we tried to make ourselves that, you know. And by doing those kind of songs, the girls liked them, and we get a lot of requests at radio, you know, and yeah, it worked. Yeah. So let me see, I'll play this, a little bit of this Take You Home song. Now this song is pretty doggone fast. I think this is like 135 BPM. And let's see.
Are you?
Thanks.
So will you be, I mean, with all these lines in there, will you be going to see Depeche Mode tonight? Or?
They're here?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh.
Nice. I didn't know that. Yeah, I might just go see them. Yeah, I got to meet them a long time ago, so.
What was the last time you saw them?
Like 80s, early 90s. Yeah, it's been that long. Yeah. But, you know, it's definitely like, that's one of the influences, you know.
When you were sitting down and programming that stuff, I mean, you got about 16 pads on the 808, and you're pretty heavy. You don't have too much room to move around regarding where the focus is.
Right.
So how do you keep yourself entertained for all that time? On like, oh yeah, I might do it on the 2 or on the 2-1.
Well, at the time, that's what was the thing is, you know, we wanted to be creative. And, you know, now, like was said earlier, we're spoiled. We have so much gear and so much equipment to work with now that it's, you know, it's almost like it's harder. Because if you've only got an 808 and you've only got like 1 or 2 keyboards, you gotta be creative. You know, it's kind of like, okay, what can I do with the 808 this time? Okay, turn the kick up here. Instead of using the click, I'll use this. I'll do triplets on the hi-hat, you know, or whatever. You know, I'll triple the snare, and that's all you could do. I mean, because if you try to sync up an 808 in the studio, it don't happen. I mean, that thing would be so far off beat by the time you got to the middle of the song, it was ridiculous. So whatever you were gonna do, you had to do with the 808 right then and there, and that was your song. You know, I've got, actually at the end of the song, I had, because you know, 808 only has so many patches and so many, you know, beats you can make before you have to erase them or export them. And I was actually producing some other groups at the time, and I had their beats in there as well, like Bobby, Jimmy, and the Critters. So in that song, I accidentally hit the button, and their beats played in my song, and I left it. It was just like, oops. But you know, I only had so much studio time, and I wasn't about to go back and replay it. So it's, those beats stayed, and nobody knows but me and you guys. So.
Who were those guys?
Oh, Bobby, Jimmy, and the Critters? You know what? I'm gonna show you guys something. You could pass it around if you want. Don't laugh. If you laugh, I'm leaving. But this was Bobby, Jimmy, and the Critters. It was a comedy rap group that I happened to be in. I was only supposed to produce them, but they kept putting me on the covers. I don't know why. But matter of fact, you can pass this around. The back of this one is pretty bad.
But I mean, in all, you don't happen to have like a world-class wrecking crew in there as well?
Oh, you know what? I'll place. You know what? You want to hear the first ever Dr. Dre record? Because a lot of you guys don't know about the old Dr. Dre. You know about the Dr. Dre Snoop stuff, and he'll probably call me and kill me for playing this. But let me see if I can play some Wreckin' Cru for you.
And if you don't have the cover, you should probably tell us the real story, how the eyeliner got up there. And
oh, so you want to go to the eyeliner, huh?
we're all about the eyeliner.
We'll talk about that as well. Let's see. Let me play some Surgery.
So this was a comedy rap group?
Yeah, it was a comedy rap group. Basically what we did was covers on other people. Like, we do make fun of LL Cool J, or there was another big group out called Timex Social Club. They had a song called Rumors back in the day, and we made a song called Roaches. They said, look at all these rumors, we sang, look at all these roaches. And it was actually a pretty big hit.
Can we hear Roaches?
Roaches is probably in there somewhere in that record, I think. I think it's on that one. Yeah, it should be on that one. No, it's actually on this one, and I'm not sure if I even have it in here. But I'll play some Dr. Dre for you, and then I'll see if I have Roaches. This is Dr. Dre's first 12-inch single, and it's called Surgery.
You got a house call on there too?
Huh?
You got a house call on there too?
House calls? No, I don't have house calls. I just found a Bobby, Jimmy, and the Critter song that'll be interesting to you, though. You guys remember that that Prince song back in the day called Housequake? Prince had a song called Housequake or something like that. And we redid his song, and we called it Milkshake. Just got you stunned, right?
I'm totally amazed. No, I really want to hear the Roaches one.
Yeah.
Where's the record?
I actually thought I had the record. Is it?
It's not on that one.
Oh, it's not on that one? Because it may be inside of it. I'm not sure. I don't think, because I have the cover, but I don't have the record that's inside of it, because it would be cool to let you hear it. But I'm trying to think, what else do we have? Well, I'll save this one for later. I got a song I'll play later. So.
What are you saving there?
I'm saving the song that's what changed the whole, like the last electro song pretty much in Los Angeles before
Gangster.
Yeah, the whole thing went. But we still got a little ways to go in the old school movement.
What would be the next step in that way? And we still haven't talked about the Jerry curls and the...
Okay, let's go there. Back in the day, there was this thing called a Jerry curl. And a lot of the guys on the West Coast would wear them. Like if you look at some early Ice Cube pictures, you see Ice Cube and he's got this massive dripping Jerry curl thing going on. And I had one too, and Egyptian Lover had one, and that was one look. And then you were mentioning something about this whole eyeliner thing with Dr. Dre. Well, the Wreckin Cru decided halfway through, and Egyptian Lover did too, I don't know what happened, but they had really gotten into this thing. There was a guy named Jesse Johnson, who used to be part of Prince in the time or whatever, and he started his own thing. And Egyptian Lover and Dre and the Wreckin Cru decided that they didn't want to do, you know, the whole electro dance thing anymore. They wanted to be more like that. They wanted to sing more R&B love songs. So they did an album called Wrapped in Romance. And they were wearing these like suits with glitter on them, and Dr. Dre happened to have on this like shiny sequin doctor outfit, and he had on lipstick and makeup because their publicists thought that if they put makeup on them, they would be more appealing to the women. And that's the picture that circulates on Dre. Actually, Eazy-E circulated that photo when, you know, Eazy and Dre had a falling out. Eazy just posted it all over the internet. Like, here's the real gangster rapper Dre right here.
Yeah, but I mean, the records are still out there.
Oh yeah, the records are out there, but like you said, a lot of people, you know, don't know about the old stuff. I can walk up to 1,000 people and go, you know Dr. Dre? Oh yeah. Chronic, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, 50 Cent. You ever heard of Juice or Surgery? Nope, never heard it. And those records were, if it wasn't for those records, he would never be where he is today, because those are the records that played on the radio back in the 80s on K-Day, you know, which was our hip-hop station back then, which is actually back on the air.
Save K-Day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, the popular game is like what could have happened if, I mean, let's say in a film like Colors or Boys in the Hood or for whatever, I mean, you hear little glimpses of club scenes,
right.
But that's all, the music always focuses about the stuff you would hear in the car instead of
right.
the music that you hear in the dance.
Yeah, I think
the
that
world would look totally different now. We'd be all wearing
tight pants and breakdancing. Yeah. Well, I think it was, you know, at the time that Colors came out, it was actually on the tail end of the whole electro scene. And, you know, we had moved into doing the Boys in the Hood stuff and all of that kind of stuff. And I actually take partial blame for killing the whole electro scene on the West Coast, you know, because we stopped doing it. I mean, you know, once we were the last ones to do it, and when we stopped making electro, everybody else stopped.
But when you say we, you already went on a different name at that stage.
Well, yeah, like the N.W.A. stuff, if you look at the first two N.W.A. albums, there was 2 electro songs on there. There was Panic Zone and Something to Dance To. And we put them on there because, you know, we still love the music, and at that time, the stuff that we were doing with N.W.A. was so hardcore, we couldn't get no radio play. So in order to get radio play, we had to do the electro music, and that's what we did. But once the other songs took off and took over, we just stopped doing the dance music altogether. It was just like a whole new era, you know.
But before we get to N.W.A. and the Posse, I mean, there were other crews involved in that as well, like the Feeler.
Oh yeah, Feeler Fresh Crew and stuff like that. But that was actually not even something that we wanted to do. What happened was when we were on a little small record label called Macola Records back in the 80s. And they were like, and that's why I wish there was still a record company or some outlet today, even for all of you guys. There was a little mom and pop record distributor, and anybody could go there and get a record deal. All you had to do was have a song that was decent enough. You could go in and get it pressed, get it distributed. You know, you may sell a couple thousand, you may get lucky and sell 100,000. But there was that avenue, and we all went through there. I mean, you know, me, Egyptian Lover, the LA Dream Team, even, what was her name? Stacy Q, who had the song Two of Hearts. Her stuff came through there. MC Hammer I mean, so many groups started at Macola Records, but they were crooks. And if you left Macola Records to get a bigger deal, oh, they press everything that you've ever done and put it out. And that's what happened with the N.W.A. and the Posse record is we never made that record. We made a record called N.W.A. that had 5 songs on it. He made N.W.A. and the Posse because he wanted to put out a full album. So he just found other stuff he had laying around, like the Feel Fresh crew and, you know, some other stuff, and he put it on there just to make an album. And, you know, they sold like 1 million copies of that, and people thought that was the album, N.W.A. and the Posse.
I mean, you already told us of one night you met Dre, and obviously there's a whole other lot of key players in there. Ren, Yella,
Yeah, MC Ren,
Eazy-E,
DJ
and so on.
Yeah, Ice
How did
Cube.
you meet all these guys?
Well, me, Dre, and Yella were all DJs. And Dre and Yella were in the Wreckin Cru. You know, I was doing my thing. And MC Ren and Eazy-E lived in the neighborhood. And they used to just hang out in the neighborhood. And Ice Cube was young at the time. I mean, he wasn't old enough to really go to the clubs or hang out with us. And he was still in school, so he used to just hang out. He just hang out with us. And we all got together one time at Eazy's house. And back then, Eazy was
What were fine young gentlemen like yourself doing at Eazy's house?
Well, you know, he lived down the street, and at the time, Eazy was like the neighborhood drug dealer. And we were broke. We had no money. And we were getting ripped off by all the people that we were producing for. You know, we had hit records out there, but we really weren't making any money at the time. And Eazy had flashy cars and money, and he always said he wanted to rap. And he's like, well, I'll fund you guys. You know, if you guys want to stop doing that, and, you know, let's do this. I don't want to do the whole drug thing anymore. I want to stop. I want to go legitimate or whatever. And it was like, okay, you want to be legitimate. We want to continue to make records. You know, we'll help you make a song, and we'll, you know, just start this new group and, you know, go from there. And that's what happened.
But if he was that loaded, I mean, couldn't you get him an EQ to sound a little better, maybe? Well,
that's the thing. Eazy, you know, God rest his soul, couldn't rap at all. I mean, we go in the studio and imagine a session where the song is done, the music is done, but you're in there for about 8 hours trying to punch his vocals in because he, early on, didn't have the timing to get it right. He couldn't remember the words, he didn't have the timing, so we punch, go back, punch, go back, punch a word, punch 2 words, you know, just to get it right. And it actually, people liked it. They liked the way he sounded because I guess maybe because he couldn't rap, you know, they liked that sound.
yeah, he's got a distinct...
Yeah, distinct voice, yeah, and a distinct style. So.
But who in that band could actually rap?
MC Ren. Ren is a hell of a rapper. Cube could rap. I never professed to be a great rapper. You know, I just love the music. I'm more of a producer, but I've always done, you know, records and done music. Same with Dre. I mean, Dre's got many hits out there, but he doesn't really profess to be a great rapper. You know? It's just, we've just had a knack for being able to make hits. You know, we hear something and we know what's good and we know what's bad. I mean, for every one good song we've had, believe me, we've got 1,000 bad songs sitting. I've got thousands of bad songs. You'll never hear them. But, you know, we know what sounds good, so.
How did the DOC come into that game?
DOC was actually from the Feel Fresh crew. And we were in Texas one time, and the same thing was happening with the DOC. He was distraught because he was in this group, and whoever owned the group wasn't paying him. He wasn't making any money.
What do you mean, who owned the group?
Well, you know, there's always one guy who runs the group, you know, who makes all the decisions, who collects the check, and if he's not sharing the wealth, you know, people get mad. So he wanted to leave, and we heard his stuff, and we brought him to LA and, you know, put him down on the Funky Enough thing, and, you know, made that happen.
Jerry Heller?
Evil, man. Evil. That name is evil. Jerry Heller. He used to be our manager back in the early days of N.W.A. and made us believe that we should only take half of our money that we make, and we should take the other half and put it in a nice big pot and leave it in the record company. But he was taking it. So we figured that one out pretty quick, you know.
And then what happened?
That's what actually disbanded the group after a while, because you had this, you know, huge thing with N.W.A. that was making so much money, selling so many records, but you know, we're not making the money that we should be making. And you ask questions where the money it is. Where's this money? Oh, don't worry about it. Go on tour. When you come back, it'll be here. Oh, look what we got you guys. We got you cars. We got you a house. You know, you weren't buying it. They were buying it for you. So, you know.
Got a good deal at least.
Yeah, well, you know, I'd rather have my money. You know, and that's one thing in this music business. You gotta really watch your money, your publishing, you know, anything that you do, just keep an eye on what you do. I mean, trust everybody, but don't trust anybody. You know, like, you know, really, really look at your stuff. Make sure that what you're giving away or what you're letting somebody run with, that you know where it's going and you have a line on where the money's going or where it's coming from. You know, you gotta do that these days.
Before we go a little deeper into that, what was the song you wanted to play before it went all the...
Okay. Well, one of the last electro songs that was done before the whole movement changed was a song called Panic Zone. And that was on the N.W.A. album. So I'll play a little bit of that. And Panic Zone actually was a city. It was a city in Compton, or right next to Compton. It was called the Panic Zone. Meaning that if you drove your car into that city anytime after dark, it was panic, because you were gonna get robbed, your car stolen, shot at, or something like that. So that's why we made this song.
Territory, and you're the prey. I'm the Arabian Prince, and we're N.W.A. Don't interfere with the...
Can you probably picture us the whole thing when you realized that there was something which was actually going beyond the Los Angeles city limits?
Well, I mean, like I said, we were so stuck in LA. I mean, we really never traveled much, you know. And we would do little shows in other little states here and there. But when we really first got the big idea that, whoa, we're worldwide or nationwide or something like that, we used to actually take our records ourselves and do our own self-distribution. I mean, we put 1,000 records in the back of a truck or a car, drive to the swap meet, drive to the record store. Here's 5 records, buy them from us. Here's 10 records, buy them from us. And we did that for months and months and months. And then pretty soon we got a buzz, and next thing you know, we had people calling us up from other states wanting the stuff. And we're like, well, how did you find out about it? Oh, well, this guy called us from here, said that, you know, this was hot, you gotta check it out. They sent me one, now I want 100 of them. Now I want 1,000 of them. And next thing you know, we're too big for what we were trying to do, and we had to go sign with a major. And the small suburbs, you know, in all the little cities start picking up our music, and that's what, you know, turned it into this huge thing. And I think one of the biggest things that helped us, and, you know, sometimes I feel sorry that I helped to start this whole, it's so-called gangster rap, but let me set that straight right now. We never set out to do anything gangster or say anything gangster. All we did was talk about what was going on in the neighborhood at the time. Like, you know, we told stories about what the police used to do in our neighborhoods. You couldn't walk down the street without getting pulled over. You know, just harassed every day. We talked about the shootings, the killings, you know, the drug dealing. We just talked about stuff that went on in our neighborhood, and that turned into gangster rap. You know, people who came after us turned it into gangster rap. You know, the guys who just made up these wild stories about how bad they were and how, you know, crazy they were, and that's what kind of ruined it. And people didn't understand, and we got a letter in the mail from the FBI telling us, you cannot sing this song anymore or make music like this ever again.
At the same time, you got kids all over the world getting the records bought by their grandparents for Christmas.
Yeah.
Like,
And we were like, wait a minute, they can't do that. You know, this is like freedom of speech. You know, you can't tell us what we can't do. And at the time we were on tour, and I remember we went to Chicago, and we were on stage. And before we went on stage, matter of fact, even before we got there, when we got to the airport, the police were waiting for us at the airport. Lots of them. I mean, just like one of those, you know, Blues Brother movies where you come out of you're all happy, we're going to perform. Like, what did you do? You know, like everybody's like looking at each other, did you do something? No, I didn't do anything. And at the time, Ice-T was on tour with us. And this is how picky they got. Ice-T used to wear this little gold chain, and it had a gun. The gun was like this big. I mean, that big. Yeah, we got a report that somebody had a gun on the plane. Everybody points at Ice-T. It's like, this is, you know, it's a medallion. They took him away, just to harass us. Dre opens his mouth and says something. They took him away. You know, so they told us, you can't sing these songs in our city.
Fuck the police.
Fuck the police and, you know, all this stuff. You can't sing this stuff in our city.
So it was quiet on the set all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, no, we went to the show. We did our show. Then the last song of the show, we sang the song. And about 15 seconds into the song, I don't know if you've ever seen a flash bang grenade go off, but right in the middle of this club or this venue, all you saw was just flashes of light, like boom, explosions, and all of these guys running toward the stage. It was police.
You felt really bad and dangerous then, huh?
Yeah, I mean, and it happened from city to city. We go from this city to that city, the same thing. Go from this city to that city, the same thing, and it just became a headache. Then Tipper Gore got involved, which is Vice President Gore's wife at the time.
Rap critic and lover.
Yeah, you know, so she decided that she's gonna take our records and bulldoze them, throw them out in the middle of the street, take a bulldozer and bulldoze them on television, national TV. And all that did was give us press. Now, everybody wanted to know what was on the records that was so bad, and our record sales shot up like 100-fold from there. And, you know, it was just a crazy thing.
And at the same time, Mr. Heller was sitting there, $1, $2, $3, $4.
Yeah. You know, it was a weird time, you know. And like I said, that's what pretty much killed the whole dance scene at the time, because now music had moved to this really slow 90, 95 BPM, 85 BPM kind of gangster hip hop music, and that's what kind of ruled for the next 3 to 5 years.
And all of a sudden you had to cater to audiences which couldn't dance at all. And
Yeah, I mean, it was just, there was no more parties, no more dances, and the gang scene had gotten so bad in LA, you couldn't even have a party anymore. You couldn't have a concert anymore, so that's what kind of killed that off. But I never stopped. I mean, I never stopped. Egyptian Lover never stopped. Dre never even stopped. He would never admit that he was doing electro music, but we still did electro cuts. I invented another character or another moniker just so I can continue to do electro, which was Professor X. And me and Unknown DJ and a couple of guys started a crew called the X-Men. And we started doing electro music under X-Men and Professor X. And that was what I could do on the side while I was still doing the N.W.A. thing.
How do you feel like when you hear all these stories about Missy ringing up Poon Atkins? Is there some sort of a final poetic justice?
Yeah and no, but the good and the bad about it is, they asked Missy when she first did the song what the sample was, and she said Planet Rock. She didn't know that it was clear.
But on the other hand, I mean, there's all these rumors about Juan getting this amazing check before the record gets cleared and stuff, and it's like, and finally he gets some sort of numeral recognition for starting off a thing or two.
Oh yeah, that song is timeless. You know, Clear is a timeless song. Planet Rock is a timeless song. There were a few timeless songs out there that you can always play, and you know, Missy, they really didn't do much to the song. They just pretty much sampled it and played it as it was, you know.
Oh, that's raw in a way.
Yeah.
So how many calls did you get from, or you or Egyptian Lover, right after that from?
Oh my God, that's, like I said, it's the rebirth of electro now. Electro-funk has been reborn because as soon as Missy put out that song, you had a couple of other groups doing covers. This girl group, I can't remember the name of the girl group, they redid Planet Rock and sang on top of it. Then you had somebody taking another song and playing on top of it. And all like the new Yin Yang Twin and Pitbull, a lot of this reggaeton stuff is indicative of the electro-funk stuff. It's not really, it's reggaeton, but it's electro-funk, you know what I mean? With a different little swing to it.
But I mean, with the demographic development in California, reggaeton, with the history of the electro scene there and all these Hispanics living there now, I mean, it's just made for California.
Yeah, it is, because even now, every week or every month there's a concert in LA in the Hispanic neighborhoods, or you know, at some of these big clubs that hold like 2,000 to 3,000 people, and they'll have Debbie Deb or Trinier or you know, some of the groups like Sir Mix-a-Lot will come down. Matter of fact, anybody got Sir Mix-a-Lot's number, please let me know, because he lives here and I need to contact him. Never mind. But you know, he'll come to town and you know, do shows, or they'll always want us to come do shows or play electro, because that's the kind of music they love. They love the dance music and they want to, you know, party. I just got back from a electro festival in Paris that I played, and it was all electro, but it was everything. It was, you know, electro-funk, more traditional electro, you know, electronic, like computerized music. It was one of the best things I've ever gone to, because it was just the whole culture, and it was like 3 days of it, and it was amazing.
The Clone guys were kind of...
Yeah, the Clone guys performed, a couple other people, yeah. It was pretty nice.
So what's it like for you now? Do you feel that there's... How do you counter... how do you meet that sort of recognition?
I don't know, I like it. I mean, it's cool. You know, like for me, when I went to Paris and when I tour around the world and do shows, it's kind of torn between, some people want me to do like the hip hop stuff, but some people want me to do the electro stuff. So I try to do a little bit of both to, you know, appease everybody. But I just love music and the culture. You know what I mean? I love being able to create music and, you know, share my music with the world and with other people and with other producers, because just by going down there, I met, you know, guys from, you know, Rotterdam and Belgium and Germany and, you know, everywhere, and just listening to their style and what they use, you know, like one of the guys did his whole show with this little Behringer just control box and a sequencer, you know what I mean? It was like crazy. And he had all his songs sequenced, and he just sat there and twisted his little knobs and did an hour show. And that's what he did, you know, and it was cool. I had never seen anything like it, but it was, you know, it was a cool thing for me to see that there's so many different ways that people can express themselves in music.
When you say you've been doing this for a long time, as in 25 years, and a lot of that music is very much about that peak time moment. It's a Friday night when everyone who worked hard all week is really, you know, getting their thing on, and it's a lot about a moment a lot of people that you went to school with wouldn't really care about anymore, right?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Is, you know, they're out there. There's a lot of people out there who still love the music and, you know, wanted to come back or whatever, because the music scene in Los Angeles, it gets kind of old. Because what the radio stations do is they play the same 20 songs all day, every day. With top 20, that's all you hear. You know, and K-Day came back, so now you're hearing a little variation of music. But, you know, the scene is not that advanced as if you go to New York or somewhere else. You know, you get a more diverse music culture.
Can you probably take us, I mean, you mentioned a couple of names like Debbie Depp and so on.
Right.
I guess you got a couple of things on there since...
Oh yeah, I can play some of that stuff.
Probably, can you tell us some stories behind like classic anthems of the time?
Oh, wow. Like one of the classic anthems would be, like I said, where is it at? There it is. Debbie Deb has probably got one of the biggest classic anthems, you know, around the world. I mean, everywhere I go, I hear that song. I don't care where I go. Somewhere along the night, some DJ will pull this song out, and now I'm hearing like house versions of it. You know, like electro house versions, trance versions, like so many different versions of this song. And I'll play that one. But this is still, you know, pretty much electro-funk. There you go.
Who were the guys producing that track?
Debbie Deb, that was actually, if I can remember, I wanted to say Pretty Tony. Might have had something to do with that track, if I can remember, out of Florida. That was all that, I think, Florida music, if I'm not mistaken, because he produced Trenier and a lot of, you know, like freestyle and that kind of stuff.
Excuse me. Is it possible to play the track Professor X also later on?
Ah, he wants to hear Professor X.
Yeah.
You know what? I can do one better for you.
Which
I've
one?
actually got live video on Professor X
Wow.
in concert in Paris.
So,
Shall I play that? Let's see if I got it. If I don't, like I said, you can kill me or whatever. Whoa, he's got vinyl. You know, I don't even have that vinyl. You may not leave with it. Let's see if I've got the show. I always come prepared. Yeah, right. What do we have here? Okay. Let's see what this is. I think this is it. This is actually, I don't too much like who filmed it, but it's good enough. This is the last Paris show I did last month, and since he mentioned Professor X, I'll actually play. It actually is a Professor X song. So let's see if I can pull it up here.
that track is actually more dark and not that funky. Actually, it's
Yeah,
more
like
Professor X. I'm here. No, stuff like that.
Yeah, it actually is. What I tried to do is, like I was saying, you know, it's kind of weird. I've got all these little AKAs. You know, I'm Arabian Prince, I'm Professor X, I'm Brother Arab. The Brother Rap stuff is more hip hop. The Arabian Prince stuff was more like, you know, your happy electro, talking about girl stuff. The Professor X is just like the dark, mechanical, computerized electro stuff that that I did. And I actually just released on Clone Records, is coming out at the end of this month, a new Professor X single.
Cool.
So
I'm from Rotterdam, so
okay,
I'll
okay,
check it
so
out.
you know. Yeah, it's Serge.
There's also, yeah, I know him. There's also, there's a bootleg out of a movie, and it's called something with breakdance or something, and there are tracks made by you, and Egyptian Lover on it.
Really?
And it's like really obscure, hard to get record. It's from the 80s. It's really dark, just beat programming, and actually maybe just a small bass line and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds totally trashed out. 808 beats like that, completely, really breaky. Like,
Really?
yeah. I have it at the hotel, so if you're you're there tonight, I'll bring it.
You know what? I like to.
But there's a really crazy record. It's not straight electro beat till the end. It's like continuously like freaking out.
Really?
Yeah.
I like to hear. That's nothing that goes on in the industry. Is there's a whole lot of bootlegging going on, especially of old stuff, because all the stuff that we did back in the day was mostly on vinyl. There was no CD. I don't know if you remember. You guys are too young. There were no CDs in the 80s. You had cassettes and records, and that was it, you know. And people seem to forget, like, well, if you don't take it off of vinyl and remaster it and put it out on CD, people will never hear it, you know. And that's why a lot of that stuff died, and that's why some of these vinyl, you know, records are really, really worth a lot of money right now, you know. So,
A question.
yeah.
The label Metro Vinyl, is it also LA based?
You mean Metroplex?
No, Metro Vinyl.
Never heard of it.
X-Ref.
No, never heard
Dream
of it.
60, the track.
Nope.
It's 80s electro-funk, really moody vocals in it.
No, I don't think it's LA based.
It's really, the beats are wicked. There's a funky, real life bass in it.
Really?
And it's like a vocoder, but the man is crying his soul out, so it's fantastic.
They haven't heard that. I'm about to dig through your crates. Because he's pulling out stuff I haven't heard. Definitely. But
I have it not with me, but I'll go to the hotel and bring some stuff, and
okay.
Maybe if you would
I'll be here till
sign a record.
I'll be here till Saturday, hanging out and partying with you guys. So,
Thank
you know,
you.
do that thing. Okay, here we go. We got audio. We got video. Here we go. Now, mind you, the break dancers, I didn't know. They actually gave me break dancers in Paris, but they were kind of cool. So I asked for girls. I wanted girl dancers, they give me break dancers, so it was fun.
The track, the Innovator, got re-released, right?
Yeah, the Innovator track got re-released with a 2005 remix.
Yeah. You did a new remix on it.
Yeah, and a remix by Dynamic Bass Systems. They did a remix on it for me as well.
They're cool too, yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool thing I'm gonna do this year as well or in the next 6 months, I'm taking all of my old releases and I'm gonna re-release all my old releases and I'm gonna get like different producers to do remixes of it. So if anybody here wants to do remixes on electro, let me know. We'll talk. I'll hook you guys up on a release. But yeah, it's just to get the stuff back out there and also give up and coming producers a chance to, you know, showcase their stuff as well.
That last track had a bit like a Detroit in Effect kind of feel.
Yeah.
You know them?
Yeah.
They're good too.
Yeah,
they
what I'm
released
doing
pretty early on Clone also. Like in 1987, 97 I mean. 98.
Which one? The first song?
What's it called? Die. Give me a minute.
Okay, come back to me. But yeah, so the new album I'm doing, the Professor X album, is going to be kind of, and I'm calling it electro-funk experiment, because I'm just going to kind of experiment with different kinds of electro and funk fusion kind of things. And right now, I've kind of fallen in love with, before, like if you look at my house now, in my studio, it looks like just archaic, I've got every old keyboard and drum machine known to man. I have never sold a piece of gear in my life. I actually brought it, I left it at the hotel, because I mean, I got off a plane at like, what, 12, 1 o'clock today, and just came straight over here. I brought the original DJ mixer. I'll bring it so you guys can see it before you leave. The original DJ mixer that we used back in the 80s. It was this realistic Radio Shack mixer that had 2 little VU meters, and you needed like 2 DJs to be able to move the crossfader from one side to the other because it was so stiff. You try to do crabs on this thing, no way. It actually clicked in the middle, so you pull it halfway and it would stop. And you had to like yank it across to the other side. So I brought that for you to check it out. It still works too, it's in mint, well, not so mint condition, but it still works and I want you to check that out. But I have all this gear, and about a year or 2 ago, because I'm a computer nut, I actually own a special effects company for doing CG effects in 3D Studio Max, Lightwave, and Maya. I own a video game company, and I produce video games for Universal and Fox as well. So I'm a tech head, I'm a computer nut. So anything having to do with computers, I've got. And somebody hit me to like software sequencing. I'm like, okay, I've used Cakewalk, I've used Logic, and stuff like that. I said, have you ever tried Reason? I'm like, no, what is it? Somebody showed me Reason. All my computers, all my keyboards, all my drum machines, in one corner. I do all my music on a laptop now. All of it. I don't touch my 808 because the moment I figured out that I have an 808 sound in my laptop and every keyboard sound known to man and drum sound, that's all I need. I'm sitting on the plane working on music. I'm in the back of a car working on music. Now in the modern age, you can create music anywhere. And I'm going to say this. I sit on the toilet and I work on music. I do. I'll go in there with my laptop and I'll work on music. It's amazing what you can do.
The extra bottom.
Yeah, get the bottom in. There you go. But I actually love a lot of the software stuff now. It's helped me to be more creative in less time. Because if you know, like I've got a mini moog, try to sequence up a mini moog. Come on, I mean, and you've got this, a lot of the early Moog keyboards had this sound. It was a buzz, like this ground hum that you could never get rid of. So same thing with the 808, it always had like a little ground hum to it. So a lot of my old gear had this just gritty sound, which was kind of cool, but you know, you'd have to gate it and compress it to get the sounds you want. But a lot of the software stuff now is amazing on what you can do with it. So that's what I'm doing a lot of my new stuff in.
So how long does it take to make a track nowadays?
A good track?
Or a track?
A track? For me, I mean, honestly, wow, I mean, anywhere, for me, if I get inspired, just say if I go, I'm gonna sit down and make a song, that could take days. But if I just get inspired, if I'm just doing whatever, watching SpongeBob or something like that, and all of a sudden I go, okay, I hear it, you know what I mean? And cartoons for me, honestly, I watch cartoons, I get ideas for some strange, weird reason. And I can kick out a song in an hour. There's a song that I'm actually releasing, matter of fact, I'll play the song for you. There's a song I'm releasing with that static song on Clone Records in overseas, and I actually did the whole song in 2 hours. I just sat there, did the whole song in 2 hours. I mean, vocals and everything. And you know, like I said, it just depends on the inspiration and how intricate the song is, you know. And
You have time enough tomorrow to make one or two maybe?
hey, put me in the studio. Put me in the studio. I can bang out some beats, definitely. I mean, like I said, I love making music. I'll probably sit in a hotel room tonight and, you know, do a song. I have a task. I've got to complete 3 albums by January. So
Well,
I'm
you
doing
got 3 days here.
Yeah, I'm gonna do 3. I'm gonna do the Professor X album, hopefully by the end of this month. Then I'm gonna do an Arabian Prince album. And then I've got a new name, AKA. So if you hear somebody call AKA, that's me. That's something new. I'm gonna do a hip hop album, just, you know, all new stuff. This song right here is kind of more computer electro. It's just something just weird and different that I wanted to do. Let's see if it'll play. Unplugged, I need to replug. Oh, I know what I need to do really quick here. But it's, I don't know, it's like I said, for me, I'm not sure like what your guys' vision is and what you all, like some of you guys are DJs, and I know some of you guys are producers, or one girl I talked to, she's a beat maker. Where's she at? Where's the beat maker? She's around here somewhere. But, you know, she was just, I'm a beat maker, you know. And just, you know, whatever your heart, you know, you set out to do, go ahead and do it, because there's a lot of opportunities in music out here. And I know people who've been grinding for years and years and years and, you know, almost give up. And then all of a sudden, you know, it happens for them and they have like the biggest hit known to man. So, you know, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it, and sooner or later it'll pay off, whether it only pays off for your own self or pays off, you know, monetarily for you. But definitely give it a shot and keep going.
All right.
And religion doesn't hurt. All right, let's see here.
Still looking for something now?
Well, I'm gonna play this, and let's see if it plays now. There we go. And you can hear those shameless plugs for the companies that sponsor me in there too, so.
Hey, I wanna, Freda, can I go first? Thanks. I'm really enjoying the lecture. Well, the thing is, we're almost reaching the point that I'm really interested in, which is the fact that you're connected with the whole electro sound, and you know, all these guys from Detroit, and I never felt there was much distance in the genesis of hip hop and the actual sound of Detroit 20 years later.
Right.
And but to me, you know, the misconceptions around like people just saying like hip hop has nothing to do with techno, and techno is shit, and it's just hammers and nothing more. That always felt like a bit like of trying to deny something that is obvious. And you know, you of course know this better than me. You were at the birthplace of probably both styles. And the other night I was listening to a radio show, and I was listening to Andre 3000 say he loved Carl Craig, and I'm like, you know, why isn't it that more people just come out of the closet with this? Why isn't like more unity in the whole scene? You know, if it's all just about music in the pure sense you were trying to explain, why is there so much preconceptions, and why are so many people so existentialist? And why do you think things don't happen in a more genre-free manner as to promote the whole evolution of everything?
I think a lot of it has to do with, you know, the cool factor. You got these people out there, and it's a lot of that feel that I can't associate myself with this type of music because therefore I'm going to lose my fans and I'm not going to be cool anymore. You know what I mean? Like, Andre 3000 is a different kind of producer or artist. I mean, he's more free and open with what he's doing. But even him earlier on in the Outkast days, you know, early Outkast was all about Cadillac music and, you know, just real funky, slow stuff. And he's always liked that stuff. But now he's been able to express himself by crossing over. You know what I mean? If you notice, when people cross over and they start making that bigger money and they see that, hey, pop music or this music, music, to me, music is music. I don't care what it is. I mean, electro is this, rap is this, you know, dance is this, whatever. As a DJ, I'm gonna play whatever. I mean, my friend did a bar mitzvah like a year ago, and I went and played the bar mitzvah with him. I was playing stuff I never heard before, but you know, whatever makes people happy, I play. You know, as far as people not associating with, you know, like where the music came from, I mean, I hear a lot of like rappers go, yeah, you know, rap started in New York and it was this and it was that. I'm like, well, do you remember, you know, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 or these, you know, did you see what they were wearing? Spikes and cowboy boots and, you know, crazy stuff. And the music was fast. They were really into the fast stuff. The, you know, the breakdancing, all that stuff was all fast stuff. And that was hip hop, period. You know, you can't deny it, it was hip hop. But the newer generations don't want to embrace that. And the younger kids don't know about it. They don't know. Unless, you know, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 or somebody does some, you know, thing on some award show and they see them, they don't know. Even if they hear it on the radio, they just kind of go, oh, that's a cool song. But they don't know, you know, what the roots of it are. You know, I mean, it's sad that, you know, it hasn't stuck and people understand. Like, electro for us has always been this type of music that I play. You go to another country, electro is something that's totally different, and a lot of people go, I hate electro, it's this, or it's terrible music. And I don't understand why. I mean, you know, people are gonna like whatever they're gonna like, and all music to me is good music, you know. And I don't know, I just don't know why people don't, you know, embrace things. But now, if you notice, I think things go in a circle. Music kind of does this. You've had this whole thing where music got really, really slow, and now it's getting fast again. People, you know, want to party, want to dance more, want to have a good time. So it's going back to the fast music, going back to, you know, the party scene. You know, DJs are making more money now than they've ever made. I mean, you got people like, Tiesto and these guys making $50,000 a night doing shows. It's ridiculous, you know, and I think that only helps, you know, the music industry and what you want to do. But if you have a certain style of music that you love, and there are other people out there that love the same thing, you guys got to like bond together and make it a scene. Because I'm noticing now there are a lot of websites out there with people who like certain types of music, and there's these big communities, and they start having parties and clubs and, you know, doing that thing. And that's the only way that to keep certain music alive.
When I was listening to the tune you played a few minutes ago, the new one, I can't help myself of doing like this in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a very big Kraftwerk influence, or that is what it's look like.
Yeah.
It look like.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm heading for. I mean, because just for the simple fact that, you know, like I told you, the Professor X stuff was more Kraftwerky kind of style, and I wanted to kind of keep it as pure to that as I could. You know, like my own style, but still stick to the more computerized Kraftwerky thing, because it's so sad that Kraftwerk died out. I mean, you know, for a while, Kraftwerk couldn't even sell a record. Now they're back. I mean, you know, they're doing tours all over the place and people are loving them, but the music is good. The music is great to me, you know, and it's sad that I don't hear more music like that. And not until I started touring overseas, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's hundreds of songs like this over in Europe, but they never hit America. You know, we never hear that stuff over there. There's no radio stations for it. There's no outlet for it. So if you don't go buy the record in the store, you'll never hear it. So it's up to people like me and, you know, Egyptian Lover or other people who do have kind of a name out there and are really still active in the club scene to kind of bring that music back and kind of just start, you know, force feeding it into people. Like, you know, when I play clubs now, I'll play the top 40, but I'll start fusing in some of the electro stuff, some of the old school stuff, so people can, you know, groove to it and get used to it again.
Yeah, but one of the things I think that makes Kraftwerk so special is the fact that they had to produce their own sounds, their own way of performing, and there's very typical and strong. For example, in numbers, if I play the track now in a club or something, it hits the dance floor more as other tracks because the sound is so strong. Maybe that, I don't know, isn't. And if you're working with Reese nowadays, isn't there like a thing you would maybe be missing?
I used to think that, honestly. I used to, like I told you, I'm an analog head, or I was an analog head. But after, you know, a bad back from carrying around all these keyboard gear to the touring from the studio, all the problems with the gear I had. I mean, trust me, it is a science to use analog gear to create a sound. But one thing you got to remember also too is I kind of liken music to other things, like sports, for instance, like you know, basketball or football or any sport. Back in the day was very, very raw. Everything was very raw. But with technology today, there's so much more you can do. And not taken away from analog or creativity, you know, whether you've got a stick and a drum and just some vocals to Reason or a bunch of keyboards, it's not what you use, it's how you use it or how you put it together. Like the song I just played, I mean, I just didn't go, okay, here's a patch. Oh, here's a patch. Put them all together and play them. I actually go in and I create my own sounds with them. It's just in a laptop. You know, I sit there and I tweak my envelopes, my LFOs and all that stuff. I actually spend a lot of time getting that sound, and I make sure I get sounds that nobody else can get. You know, like especially arpeggiating sounds or my snares. You can't find my snare. You may be able to get something close to it, but my snare is probably 8 snares put together with this on it and that on it or whatever. So, you know, it's still a lot goes into getting something special.
A lot of the old school West Coast guys are coming back to making beats, and I just wanted to know if it's true that Unknown DJ and LA Dream Team are back making things.
You want me to call? I can call Unknown right now and ask him. I just talked to him. Me and him hang out like a lot. And Unknown DJ. Right. Yeah. Now I hear there's another unknown DJ out there that does house music or something.
I think we're talking about the same one.
No, there's 2 different ones.
All right.
There's an unknown DJ out of New York or something that does house or something like that. More disco, yeah, kind of thing. And then there's the old school unknown DJ, 808 beats, beatronic, basstronic, you know, that whole thing.
Your pants off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we talk pretty much every day, and I've been just, dude, you got to do a record. You got to do a record. Come on back, and he goes, well, you know, you didn't let me rap on your record, so why should I come back? You know, we always had this argument, but yeah, he is going to do another record. He's actually working on something right now. But this guy, Unknown DJ, he's my buddy, but he's a strange beast. He will sit on one song for a year and a half. I mean, he'll sit on that song and work on it, and he'll call me up one day, listen to this beat. Okay. He'll call me up a month later. I just did the breakdown. You know, it takes him that long to do his song, but once he does it, it's a work of art. So he's coming back. I don't know if you knew, the LA Dream Team is coming back, but Rudy from the LA Dream Team passed away about 3-4 years ago in a scuba diving accident. Yeah, so there's only one member left in that, but he's trying to do something new. I know who else is making a Supreme comeback. We're trying to get Juan Atkins to come back with Cybertron or something of a reasonable facsimile. I mean, I'm begging him, like, dude, man, we got to do a record. You know, you got to do a record. But he's doing this like Detroit house stuff now, and he's kind of, yeah, he's doing it. But I'm trying to just go do some electro, really quick or whatever. He's coming back, and if I can find Sir Mix-a-Lot, yeah.
Is DJ Matrix a West Coast guy?
Yeah, he was.
And
I haven't seen him in a while.
No.
Yeah.
And are you in touch with any of the guys who did Break It and Enter In?
Yeah, all those guys. Glove.
That film, that was a documentary about the West Coast electro scene back in the day, and it's impossible to get hold of.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I mean,
everybody's like waiting for it to be reissued, and there's loads of really bad quality bootlegs going on eBay, overpriced bad quality bootlegs. And
right.
Where's the reissue of that?
Well, you know what it is? I don't think anybody actually owns it anymore. Like, whoever did the original of it, that company went out of business or something. So there's really, I don't even know if there's a master of it anywhere, because everybody I talked to who was a part of it doesn't have a copy of it. It's just one of those sad things that goes by the wayside. Like I tell you, I don't have all of my own vinyl, just for the simple fact that when you're making music, you kind of go, okay, yeah, I got my records, and somebody goes, hey man, let me get that. Okay, cool, I'll get another one. And you never get another one. You never press another one. And then you're looking, well, I don't have it. So I've actually gone on eBay and bought my own record just to put it back into my, catalog, just so I can have an original copy of it. On what, Lionsgate? Oh, okay. Yeah. So.
Well, I'd say thank you very much for enlightening us a little bit here.
Thank you.